Tribe. I'm KamalaDevi, and I'm showing up today a little hungover, a little raw. So I want to do something a little different. Normally on this morning, I've been reading sections from my new novel, 52 Fridays, and doing some author Q&A. But what's actually alive in me, and I often, want to savor and share when I have a recent, revelation. So I'm waking up and I'm still integrating. So it's not like the most polished package of, here's a teaching or here's something I've prescripted and written. Instead, it's me moving through my interior reality. So I will share that last night I did it was actually a Lottie Han journey, which is like a moving into the mystery with Lori Handlers. And so she's one of the ISTA faculty, and she does this really powerful transmission where you blindfold yourself and you go under. And what's important, I think, for those of you who are new to shamanism or don't have a lot of journeying experience, is that there's many, many different ways to get into altered states. And as so I have two books that I'm, sharing, but one of them is Sex Shamans, and Sex Shamans as a book will share ways to go into erotic trance. And that's uniquely different than the kind of trances that are induced by medicines or, by whether it's plant medicine or other synthetics. Usually it's a state of, breath and movement and sound that takes us into an altered reality. And so in Lottie Han last night, I was surrendering, to this deep inquiry about the soul in body, not just the soul, there's a greater non-physical soul, but the soul that's, in the body, that's vibrating, the ecstatic current. And I was following that, and I was just surrendering to where that wants to lead me. And I kept hitting up against a kind of almost like a fear or resistance. It was a psycho-spiritual block. And which is not uncommon. We go on these journeys and we hit this resistance, and usually we'll get distracted, and we'll, it's a lot like meditation. You're approaching the void, and then the mind will monkey mind on you, or take you into some state that's actually a distraction from true meditation. In any case, I was okay, I'm up against it. And I noticed in the emptiness, there was a desire in me to rush to whether it's connect with a lover or fantasize about a lover, or that place where I was putting my beloveds, my husband Michael in particular, in with me. I was almost terrified being alone in this deep ecstatic trance, and I would call him in. And I noticed, I was oh, that's interesting, this is a solo journey, and reaching for him is reaching for a security blanket. Whew. And that experience of trying to seek comfort in the unknown is a very familiar experience. So I actually said, okay, let me let that go. Let me just be in the unknown. And I noticed a few different times that I reached out in kind of fantasy realm. So the mind, it's a type of there's lots of different dimensions, and like astral, etheric, dream time. Fantasy is definitely one of the like denser mental ones. It's like the place in which you can, daydream. And so I was noticing my mind going into calling like lovers or intimates in. And it's not uncommon. Like I know too that in the moment of death, a lot of people like the last thing on their lips are their beloved's names. Like it's what we're here. We're very intimately entangled with our heart is really close to these people. We're traveling in life with these people. And so I just allowed myself to like move past that impulse and say, okay, I'm terrified. I could feel it too. My heart was pounding and I'm at the unknown and I'm going to actually face this without calling on, the help. And it's interesting because even as a shaman, I'll call on guides or allies, but to actually be face to face with like, I want to be with my aloneness. I want to be with the wound of separation. Separation I see as the primary wound. When we decide to come down out of the unmanifest and materialize into form, it's a type of a abandonment of the unconditional love and a agreement to be in the world of separation. And in a sense, this 3D world is one of separation because it's one of duality, it's one of polarities. And so I just was feeling this like, okay, I'm going to be alone in separation and I'm going to dance with that. And I was dancing with that, and I was dancing with that. And then what started to reveal was this path, this tremendous, long, and arduous kind of like climbing up the hill kind of path. Like it really was a path in nature with rocks and boulders and trees and tree roots and like, but it was this like glorious discovery of going through life, my life path. And what I saw very clearly was that I was walking this life path. Like I've chosen a travel partner. My beloved and I have been married for almost 20 years, and it's like that we are traveling together. And it took me like the life path took me to that place where we made that vow. And it wasn't specifically, we had a ceremony in Costa Rica, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm remembering my marriage. It was more like the soul contract that yes, we're going to travel together. But then I also saw beyond the 3D that vow wasn't till death do you part together forever. Although we saw in each other's eyes and still see as anyone can when you go into deep eye gazing and you see into the soul, you're seeing into the eternal. It's almost like a rip in the fabric of reality. This reality being chronological and everything is mortal and form changes over time, and the reality beyond the veil is a eternal one, and that going into that eternal, at least just glimpsing into the eternal through the eyes of the soul. And that can be a deep direct experience through love. Like when we fall in love, we taste like our original face, like that part of us that is immortal, and we see it reflected back to us in the eyes of the beloved through love. And so it's a glimpse of something more than this 3D world, but it's such a glimpse. And what we want to do so deeply, like the personality just wants to cling to that. The personality wants to like fix it, wants to like, let's make a commitment ceremony. Let's vow to like never be apart. Not that everybody, is in pursuit of this like happily ever after fairy tale, But generally speaking, if you watch, TV and listen to love songs on the radio and, not just Disney and movies, but like there's a huge propaganda that says that, love is enough and that it's like, it's answer to everything. It's all you need. And like love will conquer all, these like really romantic notions, which are beautiful partial truths. They're pointing in the direction of the infinite, of the absolute, but in 3D world, divorce and separation and betrayal, I mean, this happens in 3D world. And it doesn't mean it wasn't love. It just means often what it means is, we're walking on that path together. And this is what I saw. And this was the revelation in my vision. It's like we're walking on this path together, but the minute that your path veers towards your truth, meaning your soul's path is taking you in a direction that's not the same as my soul's path, and I have to abandon my soul's path in order to walk with you, which is a huge abandonment. Or you have to abandon worse, like you're leaving your purpose and I have to, like, I carry the burden of you abandoning what you're here for in order to be with me because I'm so committed to being with you. I'd made that vow and we're going to stay together no matter what. And it's like, no matter what's the consequences? Like maybe in this moment, our paths do need to diverge so that you can experience your truth or I can experience mine. And then perhaps those paths will bring, will come back around and maybe they won't. But this idea of what are we vowing to? Like what is it when we commit to love? Are we committing to that person and walking with them, or are we committing to following love and truth and like our soul's path? And and I got this immense, deep like pain of the abandonment, not just of the potential abandonment of my own calling and soul's path, but like having to say goodbye to somebody else so that they could be on theirs. Like it's such a beautiful thing to bless them on the path, but instead, usually it's a feeling of being rejected, being, failure, being at loss. And so I was just mourning this apparent like duality when somebody's following their truth and it's not taking them in the same direction that we are. There's still this like clinging and longing. And so I went deep, 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 deep into this longing, like this well of longing. And it's something that I've tapped into in my womb, as well as in my heart of hearts. I think in some ways that there's, in every energy center, when it turns inside out, there's a longing for the divine. There's that God-shaped hole in the heart. And I recognize like, wow, in this 3D form, that I'm always walking with that longing for the divine, and how human it is to want to take a personal relationship and to see a glimpse of divinity and to want to put that relationship into that hole and be like, this is going to fulfill me. This is going to, this person's going to see me and know me and love me for always and eternally. But really what we're seeking is, divine love, the ultimate unconditional love. And in the 3D world where we live amongst conditions, to take a person and put that into that hole, it's an immense like burden on that person. It's an immense challenge. In fact, there's no way. My husband's a saint. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an amazing man with all kinds of amazing qualities, but he will always disappoint me if I'm trying to seek, the divine love through his love. If I'm substituting, my love of the absolute and spirit and wholeness for a for a human, for a mere mortal. And I look back, like I flashed back and I was like, oh my God, all of at the root of so much of the disappointment, the frustration and the fighting of like, he's not like getting me, or, you know, that at the root of it is like my desire to know God and to be known by God, and that I'm putting that subconsciously, not intentionally, but putting that kind of pressure on this marriage. And I just felt so liberated, so free. Like, what if I let that go and just really let myself love the divine, be loved by the divine, you know, allowed myself to meet my beloved in human form as he is, which is which is someone to travel the path of life with. And that may be a temporary walk. It may be for a period of, like, for a season or for a reason. We come into each other's lives, we walk for a bit, we allow each other to move on. And although, you know, as I speak this, it's like, yeah, obvious, you know, it seems very simple. To actually have that rewritten in, like, it was like something in my code started to rewrite, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to enter relating anymore with the fantasy projection of like how long this is going to last is the measure of its success. Instead, it's like, what if I entered into relating with the, how can we support each other in walking our, you know, true paths? And if that means we're walking along together for a time, that's beautiful. And the minute that your path takes you and your soul in a different direction, I want to bless that. I want to celebrate that, just as if I'm called to another, to my truth, to not have to go through the, oh no, I'm going to hide my truth so I can keep walking with you, or, you know, not have to feel torn. Instead, be like, this is what I'm really committed to. This is my vow. This is the big love that I'm here for. And that unconditional love doesn't mean, you know, I'm going to love you in any and all conditions and I'm going to sacrifice myself for that. It means, okay, the conditions are going to change because that's what happens here on earth. Those conditions change, but there's a deep devotion to truth and love and beauty, and that you follow that, and that even if that condition is like, we're going to separate or we're going to release each other, that we want to continue to follow the big love. And so this is a very very strong felt sense, reorganizing of my furniture. And although it is something that I think intellectually I could, you know, explain this pretty easily, you know, maybe yesterday before the download, today I feel like, wow, what are the subtle shifts? How can I get into more alignment with the path of my soul? And how can I see other people, not just my husband? You know, I have a beloved now who's moving, and others who are going in different directions. I mean, after post-pandemic has given so many people so much change, and how do I just really support them following their, you know, soul calling, and release and bless that, as opposed to, I think what the trauma body tends to do in shock and change is like cling to what's known and comfortable. And it's like, I feel the full blessings to love my beloveds on their path, you know, wherever that may take them, including and especially when it takes them away from my path. So thanks for watching. It's it's been a pleasure to integrate this. In fact, in shamanism, a lot of times when we have these deep revelations or these visions, it doesn't just belong to me. Like, this vision belongs to the tribe, you know. And I thought, it feels really raw because it just happened last night, and it feels raw to jump on Livestream and tell the world about it. But it does feel important that I, you know, share what I'm seeing, and and that I'm open to feedback because it's a conversation. I'm traveling with the soul tribe, and various soul reflections help me truly see my own path. So I am looking forward to getting your feedback, and I'm just scrolling through and thanking you for showing up so much. It's really sweet to be spontaneously supported in this. Thank you for the hearts and the hands and the ahos, and and for the super fans who's seen Polyamory, Married, and Dating. Yeah, so it's been, I think, 7 or 8 years since we did that show. I do want to invite you into my two, get my 2 recent books, 52 Fridays and Sex Shamans, because yeah, it's a way to deepen the conversation, and I trust that there's like some medicine exchange. Like if you're attracted to this video at this time, it's probably because there's a vibration that's happening in my being that's matching your vibration. So thank you. Blessings.